Guys, oh my word, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday evening. How are we doing today? How are we doing today? Now, I did do something a little different, so let me know if the lighting is okay. Because I really only have one lamp on, and I have just the room light on. Because the two lamps are like giant hot boxes and just heat this room like a sauna. So I'm going to try just doing one to see if I don't cook myself like I do. And it seems like my forehead isn't being blown out, which is amazing. And the green screen is working nice. It's all super sexy in here. It's great, great audio and visual. Now, let me know if something happens or like the screen comes back and we like have to adjust it. But right now, it seems to be going okay. I don't know if that's also because it's still light outside. And as soon as the sun goes down, over the water, everything gets hotter when the sun goes down. I know I do. Ooh, look at that. It's great, isn't it? Just let me know if that like ruins the lighting and it totally blows this camera out. But guys, we have some news today. We have some news today for many of you who follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun, even the videos I made. They changed cages! But they didn't just change them. They changed them to what I asked for. And I don't want to say it was all me, because it wasn't. But I feel like I had a huge part in it. Even though I don't know how much of it was me, probably none of it. And they're just like, fine, we'll see if this works. Shives Wrangler, how we doing? Welcome to the show. But they finally changed cages to 111. There's no numbers on the card anymore. It just reads 1 instead of 2, which is amazing. Rockets are hello. So we have cages. And it's really interesting. Because let me see if I can actually pull this up. Let me see if I can pull the numbers up. Because the numbers they gave for it, I was like, interesting, right? Because what they were saying is, let me just read this word for word. It'll sound like I'm clearly reading, a news post, which I am. But I'll read it the way I read things with this voice. A few weeks ago, we changed the healing threshold of Cage of Oppression to 211, down from 222. We've now had a little while to collect data and wanted to share some of it with you. In the 2 weeks leading up to the change, Cage of Oppression featured in 3.2% of all ranked decks. Across all games lasting at least 1 minute, average of 13 actions per game, these decks had a win rate of 52.1%. As games got longer beyond 10 minutes, average of 18 actions per game, I gotta ask something. Was there a typo in that number for 1 minute to 10 minutes? Because that's a difference of 5 actions. And saying that 5 actions take 9 minutes, when the first 13 took 1 minute, I gotta ask, was there a typo in the number? Because those seem like a bit stretched, right? Like, if it was taking at least 10 minutes or more than 10 minutes, I can see that, right? Taking at least 10 minutes or more than 10 minutes. Can we get a 0 in there to make just sure I'm not losing my mind? Because then they did it again. But let me digress and go back into this. As games got longer, beyond the 10-minute mark, average of 18 actions per game, the win rate got lower, down to 46.4%. So it seems like the longer the games went on, the worse Cage actually did. Interesting. As Cage is more of a long game card, where it just puts out cyclical damage and your opponent has to do something about it. The weeks following the nerf, we saw some unexpected results. They really gotta pre-read these. There's some typos in here. It's kind of wondering about that. First of all, its presence has gone up to 4.6 of all ranked decks. The 1+ minute win rate is at a 57.4%, and at the 10+ minute win rate, and its 10+ minute win rate is at 51.1%. We have some theories as to exactly why this is the case, but jumping straight to the outcome, we have changed all 3 corners to trigger from 1 healing. Interesting. Again, we'll keep a close eye on this as it unfolds. Wrangler's question he asked a little bit, so I'm reading this. My question with the percentages: are more people playing cages or just less people playing ranked? Wrangler, you just opened up a door of all sorts of questions and conundrums that I don't have the answers to. That's at PlayFusion. That's up to PlayFusion to answer that question. But I don't know. Maybe. So My theory on this, and I've heard a lot of people talking in the Discord and whatnot. I've just been kind of hearing. I was at work. I couldn't really talk. Sadly. Oh, I know, but it still is curious. Right? It's like a double door, like a barn door you just opened up, and everyone's like, oh my god, new perspective on everything. Is the decks that were using Cage of Oppression were the ones that really just tried to utilize the one heal mechanic. They used all the cards, Glade Tome, the Shade, the Abyss Shade that heals for one, all the cards that just healed for one, and did that and built a deck around that. Now that it has now that it got a nerf, people are just running cages instead of putting them in those decks. Is what I believe is happening, which is why the number went up a little bit. It's because everyone's like, oh, okay, so it got a nerf. Well, now I don't need to build a specific deck that just utilizes the drawback of cages, and now I'll just use it as a card. So now people are playing it essentially in like aggro decks, and just any deck realizing it's like, hey, this only rotates when I heal now. I'll just not heal a whole bunch, and I'll play aggro and just have this out early game and just destroy my opponent with some steamrolling one ticks. It's now being a supplemental insect swarm that your opponent can't deal with. Your opponent just can't touch, gets through all damage reduction, all that fun jazz. So the sooner you get it out, the better chance you are at winning. And it seems like the nerf that I asked for, which I thought would be a little more balancing on the card, has now increased its win chance in like every deck because more people are using it in every deck. And once again, yes, I did ask for this change. But we have to understand, as I keep saying this, anyone who's here, this is like my quote, okay? I have two quotes. Card draw is card draw. And guys, we're still in a beta, okay? We are still in a beta. And these are the kind of things that you found out in a beta before the release. Is the card clear? They had like a 2-2-2. Okay, that didn't work. 2-1-1. Okay, that didn't work either. Let's go 1-1-1. Let's see what's happening with this card that was... I still wholeheartedly agree with myself, because I can do that. I can say an opinion and agree with my own opinion. It's my liberty to do so as a human being. Is that the card was designed as a tech card to stop stall, right? To stop stall. It is a card designed to stop a certain archetype, or at least give you a better chance at winning in that certain archetype. Now, this card legitimately has no player-to-player interaction, which I personally feel is not good for the game. I should make a video about non-interactive card games and why they're like feel really bad. Probably should be this week's video, actually. I missed a week video, so I might put that to... I'll try and do a video tomorrow. I have a really short work day tomorrow, so I might come home and just try and pump out a video real quick. But now that we know, this is my change, the 1-1-1. And I've been playing it off and on today just to see if it changed at all. It's still doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's still steamrolling opponents. The earlier you get it out, the better chance you have at winning. I'm still running things like Boulder Feast, Vitalizing Frog, and I'm just like, if I heal for 6, who cares? It rotates one corner. When I run into tech and they have Fountain of Time, yeah, okay, it's gone. Whatever. I did like 3 or 4 damage. It's an action card that should do that. But it is entirely uninteractive. It's entirely uninteractive. My opponent can't remove it. The only thing they can do is if they have rotating forward buffs or cards, they have to use those on this one buff, which then allows me to do other stuff later in the game. It is not a tech card. It is still just a good, efficient action card that my opponent has to use essentially a tech card to take care of my tech card. So now that they've clearly done the change that I have been asking for, and I said, yeah, I think you should do this. This sounds really good. And it hasn't worked. Okay? We can all be honest about that. The change that I was very prominent on, everyone was like, we give it burn, we give it unique. I'm like, no, just make it 1-on-1. It's fine, it'll be fine. Now that they've made that change, and we've tested it, clearly that's not the answer. Okay, I can admit I'm wrong. What I now propose, a new change to the card. Hear me out on this one. The card stops working the moment you drop... the moment your health is 15 or under. The moment your health is 15 or under, the card stops. The card doesn't work. It only works when you're at high health. Okay? You can even... I wouldn't say 20, because it's a dead card early in the game. If you go against aggro, it's just dead. But it's a card that should help you against Stall, and it does. Stall doesn't deal damage to you. Stall does no damage to you whatsoever, so there is no like drawback if they're not going to be below 15. That's it. That's all it is. But then once you're below 15, it's something for your opponent to interact with. Your opponent is a life source, which is the battery power of this card. And if your opponent has that card out there early game, you're like, okay, here's my plan. I gotta rush him. I gotta beat him down below 15. And if he's below 15, the card shuts off, right? And how do you get that card back online? You heal above 15. Guess what? Now you heal for 1 or more. It'll rotate, but it'll reactivate itself, right? So then your opponent just deals more damage to you to get it offline. And you have to then heal to get it back online. And then if your opponent does enough damage to you, it is now essentially dormant, and you have to find a way to restart it, which I don't think you can do. I don't think you can restart that buff. Or do something. But you're putting a lot of resources into this one card just to keep a buff on the board. And I feel like if they added that to the card, it would probably balance itself out a little bit. I don't want to say 20 or less, because really early in the game, it's super easy to get your opponent below 20. It really is. We can try. We can try shooting the moon and go, if you are below 20, the card doesn't work. Okay, the card doesn't work, which makes, like, if you're going against aggro, you better heal up before you lay this card or whatnot, or just like, hope you draw it really early before your opponent blows you in the face. But I think at 15, 15's a fine number. Tech has been actually doing really well at the whole below 15 thing and still surviving. It's the card should shut off at a certain point in the game. The card should shut off at a certain health point, making it so that it literally does what it's supposed to do against Stall. It's a counter to an archetype. It's good, but it's not like the be-all, end-all card that isn't increasing win rate values. Yeah, but Stall is really good at getting rid of buffs, so you have to do something to keep it from just getting removed. What? Wranglethorn, that's the thing. The buff can't be removed. Okay? You don't change Cage of Repression, you simply add on to it. Cage of Repression doesn't remove, can't be returned by your opponent, none of that. No, it can't be returned. It can't be removed. I think it's just it can't be removed. Your opponent can't remove it. But they can interact with your life total, which then powers the card. I got Cage immediately after they made the change to it. Maybe this was just a coincidence. But if it was happened to other people, could also be a reason for the increased presence. An early combo can drop you below 20 or restart it. Yeah. I mean, an early combo, you go against a Storm and boom, Murky Waters right off the bat, you're below 20. You're like, oh, that didn't work. Then you have a chance to heal up, get above 20, which is why I'm saying 15. 15, I feel, is a standard mid-ground health level. If they put in there like 17, just to be right in the middle of 35, that'd be really weird. 15 has been their staple for like the halfway meter of health, which I feel is fine. Shibe says, I think the card is good where it's at currently. I mean, I do too. Don't get me wrong, Shibe. This is the change that I requested since the card came out. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fine. But I do want to see the numbers that come along with it. I do still think it's a tech card. It is a nice card, but I will say I played ranked today, and I played a few just good decks. By the way, I changed my Illidan deck, and it runs a lot better now. So I kind of want to do a highlight video of my Illidan deck when I get a chance to do that. But legitimately, every single opponent that I played from Bronze Division 3 Rank 1 to Silver 3, every single opponent ran Cages. And I'm sitting here like, if this card is at heart and soul a tech card, and I understand maybe everyone but me is running into Stall right now, but if you're running it just to run it, it's not a tech card anymore, is it? It's become just a really good action card, which is like, it's not serving its purpose, right? Like, not every deck runs Colossi Mount or Colossi Cannon. Not every deck runs Umbron Barkeep. Ratchet Garby, not you. By the way, Ratchet Garby, great game today, dude. Girl, sorry. Great game today. That Green Thumb deck of yours was outstanding. Oh, I was so happy about it. Because you didn't turn the copy deck off, I copied it afterwards just to take a look at it, and I was like, this is amazing, this is so well thought out. And then I made my own version of it because I was really impressed with your deck design. I always have. Your deck designs and yours and JNL's, everyone out there's deck designs are really innovative and cool, and I'm really happy I get to see them every once in a while. But yeah, I ran into your Green Thumb this morning, and I had to like halfway through the game, my truck finally came for me to get back to work. So I'm like, okay, how do I casually finish this game without conceding to Ratchet while still at work with the store owners around? How do I do this? So like every 30 seconds, I quick ran into the back room and I was like, okay, go. I made the deck to complete a mission to play forest cards. That's amazing. I was really impressed with how it worked. I built my, like I said, I saw your deck list. I was able to copy it because you didn't have it off, which is nice, fine. And I copied it and I was like, oh, okay, I can see some similarities in here. And I built my own rendition. I think I have it, actually save it here, and it's called Ratchet Garby. Is the deck name I gave it because you inspired me to make something of Green Thumb, and it's amazing. And I won a few games with it, and I was like, wow, this is actually really good. Well, not actually. I knew it was good. I'm like, wow, this is really good. But, yeah, so awesome game. But yeah, that's my thought process, is that the card, Cage of Repression, which is what we're talking about, Cage of Repression, it's starting to get better, right? It's starting to feel a lot more comfortable to play, a lot more balanced compared to other cards. There isn't a workaround that your opponent can just build a deck around the card and have it feel better, like the drawbacks, like back in the day when we were playing Fumbling Alchemist, and you just move the combos out of your hand to have a 6 damage card, like the drawback was negligible. Where there's finally a drawback that you just can't avoid, right? You just can't avoid. The simple fact of the matter is that people are still running it just because it's a card that does like 5 to 6 unblockable damage some games, possibly even more than that. Unpreventable, unblockable, gets through Crystal Core, all that fun jazz. And that's where I'm coming from. That's what I'm seeing in my head is, if it's still just a really good action card, fine. That's fine. But the card was made to help give you a higher win percent chance against a certain archetype. And at the core of that being the card, at the number one reason they said to make the card, was to help players have a better chance of beating stall. The card is meant to be a tech card, right? It's meant to be a tech card. With that being the case, with it being almost completely interactive by your opponent, the card still feels bad. Which is why, and Shibes, I know you said the card feels fine. It's feeling better. It's feeling better. I will say that. It is feeling better. But because the card is uninteractive from your opponent's perspective, I would still like to have the edition where the card shuts off if you are below 15. Right? Because put it this way. Card shuts off below 15. Okay, you guess what turns on? Your turret. Whatever. People are probably going to run turret and cages just to have an above 15 and a below 15. Still going to be good, aren't they? Still going to be good. But in my opinion, I think doing something like that might help balance it out a bit more. That's just me, though. That's just me. Like I said, I've started to play ranked more that we got these Wave 5 cards. I've been starting to just see what the meta's like, because if I'm going to talk about it, I kind of want to play it and understand it a little bit, right? I want to do that, so I've been playing ranked a little bit more. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from, is that Cage of Repression, the change to the healing decrease is great. I think it's what it should have been in the first place. It is still a card that your opponent cannot interact with. And non-interactivity games are boring. They're not fun. And they cause a lot of butthurt. They cause a lot of tushy pain. Because when your opponent can't do anything about a card and just sits there and you literally just watch it kill you, that's when it feels bad. Like when your opponent sets up a nice board and you're like, okay, I gotta find an out, otherwise like in 2 or 3 turns I'm gonna die. But when that card sits out there since turn 2 and you can't touch it, you can't do anything to it, and you just watch it kill you, that's when it hurts. That's when it just aggravates you. And I mean, some people just need to learn to accept the game and whatnot. I understand that. Like, I'm not saying, oh, you should change this card because it's upsetting people. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that uninteractivity leads towards that feeling. And you can find a lot of games where it's just uninteractive and it feels really painful. But in a game like this, where it's not minion based, it's not resource mana based, it is strictly action based, and rotating cards based, you need to be able to interact with your opponent somehow and interact with their boards outside of the whole buff removal thing. Outside of the whole buff removal thing, you should be able to start interacting with your opponent either via board state, health state, what have you, whatnot. And I do think that if they change the card where it was dormant, not really dormant, but it only does the damage, so you can't still remove it. Your opponent just can't remove it once you're below 15, right? Don't have it say dormant. It doesn't go dormant when you're below 15. Just have it say it deals 1 damage if you are above 15 health. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. I feel like if they made that change, or at least tested it to see if it was viable, it would still be run, right? It would still be run, but it wouldn't be a card where people would probably auto-include it in almost every deck. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, we can discuss whether or not you agree with my changes or not. You can discuss everything. Shibes can tell me how much he hates me right now. He can tell me he's going to go play Magic the Gathering and just quit Lightseekers forever, because that's what he's doing now, and we all got to yell at Shibes for it. So says Lightseeker Celia, and I'm on board. Me and her have been talking nothing but hate against Shibes. You should just read some of the comments. She's rude. Oh, Shibes. Oh, it's like pouring Tabasco sauce in my pupils. It's painful to read. No, I'm kidding with you, man. But I don't know. Do you guys think that that's a viable change to a card that literally has the word oppression in it? I don't know. There's only one way to find out, and we are in the beta. I don't care what anyone says. I still wholeheartedly believe we're in a beta phase of the game where these changes need to happen pre-physical release, so there's not a whole bunch of erratas. But yeah, in my opinion, I think if we saw that change, I feel like if we saw that change, the card would feel more balanced, and it would still fit into that tech card. Technical. I should just keep saying technical, because otherwise people are going to think of the order. The technical card that it was supposed to be to help people win against a stall deck. That's my thought. That's my thought on it. Lightseeker Celia, what did you miss? Oh, I was basically hating on Shibes for the first 22 minutes of the stream. Nothing but bad words to him. I told him he can go play Magic the Gathering all he wants. I told him just leave the stream. No, we were talking about the Cage of Oppression update and all that fun stuff. Quick recap for you, because I know you're an avid watcher of the stream and you're busy. My thought. Quick recap, like 2 minutes. They did the change that I've been requesting since the entire time. The win rate's been going up. My thought is, okay, people, instead of running the deck in certain builds that get around the disadvantage of the card, are now just running it in every deck because it's one consistent damage. The earlier you get it out, the better you get it out. The win rate's been going up, the more people have been using it. It's clearly like not a change that is meant to fix the card and make it feel better. My new proposed change, even after the one that I requested and they did and I was happy with it, and we're still seeing like it all over the place, we're still seeing it everywhere, is add on to the card, it only deals damage if the player is above, like if I lay the card, it only did damage when I'm above 15 health. That way your opponent can interact with the card by dealing damage to me, dropping my health below 15, and the only way I can turn it back on is to heal myself above 15, rotate it, and have it continue doing damage. That's my new proposed change to a card that has changed twice in the past 2 weeks, finally to the version that I've been requesting. And even with that request, I'm like, okay, it's still a card that everyone is running through copies of. I played ranked for off and on today, and every single deck that I ran against had cages. And I'm like, that's not what the card is meant to be. It is meant to be a technical card, not just an auto-include because it's unaligned. So I think if you added that condition so that your opponent had a way to interact with it, not remove it, but simply just turn it off, then I feel the card would feel more balanced. Then I feel the card would feel a little bit more balanced. I'm not necessarily quitting Lightseekers, I'm just exploring my other options. Magic is fun though. Dude, Shibes, Magic is amazing. Okay, I've been playing Magic since middle school, and I'm 30. Like, Don't get me wrong, I love Magic the Gathering. It is so complex and so hard to wrap my head around. I could jump into it and learn a little bit. I know that M20 something just came out. I don't even know if that's the right number. But yeah, the new course that just came out, I've been watching streamers play it. It's a fun and amazing game. Don't get me wrong, Magic is always going to be fun. But the fact of the matter is, I've been out of it for 10 years, off and on a little bit, that if I jump back into it now, I would need to spend $1,000 just to get myself back to at least competitive spot, even online. Oh yeah, no. It is been deemed the most complex game ever made because of how many interactions stuff it has. And that's what I'd like to see, is a game that's interactive. Who would have thought that if you actually look at your opponent and be like, I can do something to you that makes you not do something. That's when the game goes back and forth. Exactly, right? It's just like, what is happening? I watched, I don't know if you guys watch Day 9. He's probably my favorite streamer of all time. He's where I get a lot of my persona from. We're very friendly people. We're very enigmatic personalities on the air. Woo! But I watch him off and on when I see his YouTube videos, and he's been doing a show with Brian Kibler called What the Deck. And the past episode they did was with the new core set M20, and they were doing flyers versus lifelinkers, and someone submitted the same deck to both people because it had flying lifelink angels, and the game ended with a concede because Brian Kibler almost got over 2,000 health, and Day 9 was just reaching over the 1,000 health mark, and they're like, okay, this is going nowhere. We can't kill each other at this point. So he just conceded, and I was like, that looks like an insane deck, because it made infinite 4/4 lifelink flying angels. That's all it did. And if you killed one, 2 more spawn in its place, and it's like, how do you stop this? I picked it up in elementary school when I was 10. Haven't played in 15 years. Staying strong, Cassilia. Staying strong. But yeah, so that is my new proposed change to Cage Repression, is to add on the simple text that says only does 1 damage to your opponent, keeps the whole thing, but add the condition while you are above 15 health. That's my new condition. Like I said, you're still probably going to see people run 3 cages and then run a turret, so that the moment cages go offline, your turret goes online. Probably still going to see that. I'm not going to lie. But at least it feels better. At least it feels better that cage is not just killing you the entire time. There is a way to interact with it, and it's through your opponent's health. It's through a secondary resource and not just the card itself, which makes for a really weird roundabout interactive way. You can't deal with the buff directly, so you indirectly just kill your opponent and shut the buff off. I think that would be a fine change. I think if we tested it out, the card would still be played, but probably not as much. And it wouldn't feel as, discouraging when someone plays against you and you're like, wow, I hate this, immediately get it out of my face. It wouldn't feel like that. Just get rid of that notification. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the change? I know Rocket Star says he likes the change. He thinks the change is good. But yeah, that's my thought. That's my thought on the Cage Repression. I like that they are still working around a card that everyone is still upset with, and I like the fact that they're doing it in the beta. Believe it or not, guys, we're only in the beta. We haven't even reached our final evolution, okay? You only know 2% of PlayFusion's power right now. It's Frieza's second form. That's what it is, because the second form is the beta. It was the alpha, now it's the beta. It's so good. Anyway, I meant your change that you would make. The one... I'm assuming you were talking about the change to add on the health, the battery power to it. Your health is the battery. That change. I assume that's the one you'd like to change. But yeah, right now the 1/1/1, it's what it should have been the entire time. I think that's what it should have been the entire time. So, kudos. I'm gonna post this separately to YouTube. So 1 sec. Let me just put a little